Hi there! If you are new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss a video. My name is Myrna and I'm a licensed wildlife rehabilitator for the state of Connecticut. Like so many of us, it's my regular job that pays the bills, and all of the work I do to save wildlife is completely voluntary. With my busy lifestyle, filming and sharing what I know is a labor of love, and I'm honestly not perfect. So if you have helpful information or a tip from experience that you would like to share, please do so in the comments below so we can all learn and grow with this profession. These videos are not intended to replace the need for a mentor who will sit with you in person and show you how to safely feed and care for wild animal babies. For your safety and for the well-being of the animals you intend to save, please do this work legally and never stop learning. With all of that said, let's get into the video.
So let's talk about care and rehabilitation, because this is a big part of the process, right? This is what you're really here for. Okay, so we'll go back to the injured adults. These are patients, is how I'm going to refer to them. So you want to make sure that they decompress. I don't mean physically, I mean mentally decompress, that they feel safe and low stress and they calm down. Any adult that is brought into captivity is really stressed out. It's very scary for them, whether it's a mouse, a rabbit, or squirrel, any other animal. It's very scary. Everything about us that we do is not natural to them. The cars we drive, the shoes we wear, the houses we live in, the carpet, the smell of everything. It's all alien to them. And as soon as they come into our environment, they know that they're so far away from home, and it just stresses them out so much. It's an alien abduction, and it's scary. So we want to do everything we can to make them feel safe, even though they know they're far away from home. So we, of course, want to keep them warm. And I know these are adults, right? But because they're injured, we want to make sure that they have the ability to warm up. So you want to give them, just like with the babies, a heat source that they can get away from if it's too warm, but that they can snuggle up to if they need it. So depending on how bad the injury is, they're definitely going to have trouble regulating their own body heat because they're trying to heal. It's very important we keep the area quiet. So again, having that nursery, that quiet area where you can play the bird sounds and shut the door and not have all the noises of the house. I also have it on the first level, so you know, they're not hearing me going up and down the stairs or anything like that to come in and check on them. The physical examination. So I usually like to give them about 30 minutes. As soon as I bring them home, I let them decompress. I put them in the room, set everything up, and put them on with their little heat source, get them set up, and then I walk out. And I just leave them for about a half hour and just let them chill. Now we're going to do the physical exam. Again, we're talking about adults. So with an adult, I'm going to wear a fuzzy glove. And this is because I want to reassure them my hand is not a raptor claw. I am not reaching down in there to grab them because I'm going to eat them or squeeze them to death or kill them. The fuzzy glove really does confuse them into what is coming towards them. They really do treat it like it's another mouse. And so they tend to be much more docile towards the fuzzy glove. So I need to hold them with the fuzzy glove while with my bare hand I check for abnormalities, cuts, if there's any blood. Now, you probably won't see blood even if there's a cut because, again, they are self-grooming animals. They most likely would have cleaned that up already. So just because you don't see blood doesn't mean there may not be a cut or a wound there. It just means they probably cleaned it themselves. You will probably have bugs. Mice are very clean, but there is still the possibility that they could have bugs on them, external parasites, especially being an adult that's in your care. Something's happened to them, so external parasites tend to just find everything that's sick or weak or not feeling so great and just attaching onto them. So it's very possible they could have fleas, although very rare with mice. I don't know what it is about mice, but I never get mice with fleas, but I always get squirrels with fleas. And raccoons and everything else. But for some reason, mice are really good at not having fleas. But do keep it in mind that they could have some external parasites. And I have on hand always, you can get it at the pet store. There is one for birds, and there's another one for small mammals. It's their mouse and hamster spray. So always have that in your nursery, because you might need it, and you don't want to need it and not have it, and have fleas all over the place. So you want to check for bugs. You're going to be, sifting through the fur, really combing over, looking for cuts and bugs and all that stuff. And then when everything checks out, you want to pinch the scruff of the neck. You are checking for their hydration level. So the tenting of the skin when you pinch and then let go, does it snap back into place within a second or two, or does it take a long time to come back down, or does it just stay there, which is really bad? Either way, I still hydrate first. The pinching of the scruff just tells me how much I should continue with hydration. So everybody who comes into rehab gets hydration at least one session. And depending on the scruff of the neck and the severity of their dehydration, then I will continue until that gets better. So after pinching the neck and discerning, okay, this animal is pretty hydrated, then you want to put them on a gram scale and weigh them. You need to know how much this animal weighs for medical treatment reasons and for later on feeding reasons, because again, remember, these are patients. They're not feeling well. They may not be able to eat on their own, or they may not feel well enough to eat on their own, so you might have to assist them with that and treat them very much like babies when it comes to their general care. So you need to know how much they weigh so you know how much they need to eat. Emergency care, so, if we do find cuts or abnormalities or all that stuff, we move on to emergency care. So we have fluids, and this can be intravenous if needed. If that scruff of the neck if it's real stiff, if that tenting just stayed there, you're going to need to sub-Q. Even if that animal is conscious and willing to, excuse me, orally take in fluids, you want to give oral fluids, but you also want to do sub-Q when it's that severe, because you're going to lose them in a few hours if you don't. Wound cleaning, pain management, vet visit if needed. All right, so we've taken care of their emergency care. This is the rehabilitation part. So sometimes you start at number 4. So if your vet gives you a call and says, hey, we have this animal that's came to us and now he's ready to go, can you take him? And so sometimes you start at number 4, where you get them from your vet. Your job is to make sure that the healing process is a success. So you will need to create a habitat that is safe for the patient. This depends on his or her injuries. You're going to give the medications according to the vet instructions and provide general care. So when you go pick up that animal at the vet, they're going to hand you a little baggie with the medications and a sheet telling you basically what was done and what's going on, and they'll tell you, hey, this is the situation. And you're going to say, okay, if this patient is immobile, if she's got a little cast on her leg or she's got something like that, you're not going to put her in a habitat that has a bunch of twigs and sticks that she can get her little cast caught on, right? You're going to treat her like a little baby because she's having mobility problems. If it was head trauma, and not mobility problems, you might want to not put a body of water in there because she's, a little wobbly and she could fall in and have trouble getting back up, lifting her head out. So again, depending on what her condition is, I'm saying her, but it could be male, you want to make sure that the habitat is safe. So you want them to feel secure in a habitat that feels like nature, but you want it to be the safest that nature could be for this one animal, right? It needs to be predator free, and it needs to be free of obstructions that could do harm to them while they recover. So after rehabilitation, we have reintroduction into the wild. look for signs of trying to escape. And with cottontails, that's a good sign they're ready to go when they're bouncing off the walls trying to get out of there. If they're looking healed and lively, good signs that they're ready to go. Again, these are injured adults, so unlike infants, we didn't have to go through all the rehabilitation that you would with an infant. This is already an adult that knows how to do things. They were only in your care because they were debilitated, so we're really just looking that they are healed and ready to go. You do not want to break their spirit. Please let them go home when they are ready. Don't hold on to a wild adult longer than you need to. So now let's talk about babies. Now they're really non-weaned youngsters that will come to you. I'm going to call them babies, all of them, even though you have babies and you have toddlers and you have, teenagers. You have all these stages before adulthood. But I'm just going to call them babies here to keep it simple. You need to determine the age. So the exact age is not our goal. You're not going to get the exact age. We're really looking at life stage because we want to make sure that we are providing what they need at that life stage. Keep that baby warm. Fur or no form, or fur or no fur. Keep them warm. Cold babies can't eat, they can't drink or heal. It's very important. Do not try to feed a baby that's cold. It will die. Even if you're successful in getting it to swallow, which it won't, but even if you did, even if you tube fed, forced it down there, it won't digest. Their priority in terms of hierarchy of what's most important is warmth number one, right? They have to be warm. And then once they're warm, then other things can come into play. But if they're cold, nothing else matters. So when you're talking to a finder, they have to understand how important it is. I know they want to feed them. I know they feel bad. I know they want to coddle them and just make everything better. But the best thing they can do is keep them warm and comfortable. Nothing else happens until that is done. No vet care, no feeding, nothing. They need to be warm. No hydration. They need to be warm. Number one. Then they can get their examination. Then we can hydrate. So we'll assess the condition, health of the baby. So usually when I bring in babies, they're in their little nest box with the heating pad in there, and I leave them just like I do the adults to decompress and warm up. Get those babies roasty toasty and comfortable in their blankets. And then I go check on them, and then I will see, okay, how old I think they are. And I'll show you photos so you can better decide on what stage you think they're at. We can determine the condition of their health, physical and mental of the baby. So just adults, a physical exam, just like adults, a physical exam and weighing is needed. So you need to weigh the baby, even if it's not an injured baby. Sometimes you get injured babies. And sometimes they're just babies that are orphaned. But you still need to do your physical exam. You still need to weigh them. Because even if you're not going to give them medical care with the weight, you still need to know how much they weigh, because that's going to help you decide what life stage they're in. So physically, in the visual sense, what you see as well as how much they weigh. It's also going to help you know how much they need to eat. Emergency care, just like before, hydration, hydration, hydration. If that baby is just orphaned and not injured, do not start feeding them. Do not. Hydrate that warm baby. And it's tasty stuff. They like it. They love the Pedialyte. I always get the strawberry. It's so yummy. It's a treat for them. So please let them have it. So eyes open babies are, they need special care. Eyes closed babies, they trust you almost immediately because they're so dependent on their caregiver. They really don't have that choice to be picky. But eyes open babies, they scrutinize you They're very not trustworthy. You know, they don't trust you. They're scared of you. They know you're not their mom. Sometimes they've even seen her die. Especially with baby squirrels, they may have seen her demise and they're traumatized. They cry a lot. They're scared a lot. They're so upset and bummed out. They refuse to eat. They're a lot of work. They're hard. Even though they're more stable than an eyes closed baby, these eyes open kids are so terrified. They really need special attention as far as their senses and feeling safe and that they're home. So it's stranger danger. Okay, you're a stranger, you're dangerous. And that's how they see you. And you're very big. You could swallow them whole and there's nothing they could do about it. And you're not their mom and they're scared. They don't know where she is. Or maybe they know where she is. They saw her die and they're scared that's going to happen to them too. So you must earn their trust. How do you earn their trust? It takes time. I think the last ones I got in, it took about 3 days. That doesn't mean for 3 days they didn't eat. It just means that for 3 days they were so difficult to feed. I really had to take a lot of time with them. And this is a lot of baby mommy time or baby daddy time kind of care. Okay, you are snuggling with them, you are grooming them. I use a Q-tip and I act like it's a tongue, and I try to do a similar motion that their mom does, and I groom them, and I just try to show them, look, if I were trying to eat you, would I be doing this? Would I even bother? You're trying to prove to them that you're here to help. Without this, they will refuse to eat and they will die. You cannot force feed. It won't work. They must learn you are kind, and they must willingly eat what you offer them. Okay? You can't rush this. They're intelligent beings, and they deserve respect. And you look at that baby on the left, and he's hiding, and look at how scared he is. That's the electric hand warmer next to him. I have it inside of a baby sock, and it's inside of the pouch, and the pouch is his safe place. And he is so scared. Look at him, poor thing. And you see on the right, after he's gotten comfortable and feels safe, look at his habitat. He's got a little rock, and he's got some leaves, and he's out, and he's perusing, he's looking around, he's feeling great. Don't expect your eyes open babies to just come into your hand. They won't. They will try to run and jump and get away from you. Okay, but they need your help. They just don't know if they can trust you yet. So it takes time. Sometimes we can't save them. It happens. It's sad. I hate it. But I'm not a demigod or a god or anything close to that. I'm only human. There's only so much I can do, and sometimes the best I can do is provide comfort, and it's not fun. I don't enjoy it, but it's a reality. So I just had this one message for you before we get into anything else. Since we are not immortal and death is inevitable, what we all are really asking for is more time. If that's all you can give is more time, it's something. It's better than what they had before. So if it makes you feel any better, and I know we've all, anyone who's done this kind of work, we all have in our memories stored away hauntings of the ones we've lost that we fought really hard for, and it didn't matter. But just know that much. If you weren't around to help, they would have died sooner rather than later. So why not give them the later? Why not give them a little more time? Because that's really all anyone gets. All right, so let's look at this chart that I have, and I can make it available for download. This is my personal chart, and I say this because if you have a wildlife rehabilitation book or an exotics veterinary book, please use that. I don't have a lot of those things. They're quite expensive. I had every intention to buy them. But, you know, in the meantime, I have this chart, and this is what your mentor should pass on to you. They should have their chart that they pass on to you, and you pass on your chart to people who mentor under you, and so forth. So this is a collection of information over time. And this one specifically on mice took me a little while to get because I didn't have a mentor for mice. There was no one. It's just one of those things. I have an affinity. I really love the little guys, and I'm pretty good with them. So this is my own chart. So there could be things in here that future tense down the road I may look at later in my career and say, ooh, you know what, I was wrong on that. But I don't know that yet. I'm not in the future. Talking now, I am in the present, and right now this is the best that I have to offer. So with that said, let's take a look at what I've got. So I have feeding and schedule, care and handling, and habitat. And on the far left, I have a photograph of roughly what the baby should look like. I say roughly because a lot of these in-between stages, they can have more fur, less fur, some variation, but generally you're going to look at these photos and get an idea of what you think it would be. One thing I will tell you, the body weight does vary. Wild mice tend to be a lot lighter and smaller than domesticated mice. So don't fall too heavily on the body weight if it's way off. I'm more concerned about the physical parts of it, what the baby looks like and what stage it's in. And we're just going to use the body weight to reaffirm that part and decide how much they should be eating. So don't be too hard on yourself if you have a little runt. I had one and he was half the size of his siblings. So I'm still going to go by his life stage and not his weight. When it came to deciding how old he was and what his treatment should be, his care and handling and habitat. But when it came to how much he got fed, I went by body weight because, you know, the poor little guy's got a little tummy. So I don't want to bloat him. So again, this is just a part of the process of just understanding their needs. So the first one, from birth to 5 days. So up to first 5 days, they are pinkies and they have a milk spot. You can't see it in this photo, but if you turn them over on their back, on their little belly, it looks like a big white band that goes across the belly. And that basically tells you if the baby's full or half full or hungry and completely empty. If you don't see a milk spot, that baby is hungry. So this is another part of discerning whether or not babies are orphaned. If they're pinkies and the finder goes to pick them up, turn them over, and doesn't see the white line, they should send you a photo. That's a good sign if there's nothing, that baby is starving. He's completely on empty. So body weight, syringe size, when they're that tiny, if you can get a hold of a half cc, that's awesome. I tend to not really get pinkies. I tend to get them from the 6 days and up, so I always have a 1 cc. So the daily intake, this varies, they're so tiny. You want to check the milk spot, use that as your gauge. They're so small, it's such a tiny amount. You really just want to make sure that the milk spot is a full little belt, you know, from left to right on their belly, and that way you know they've had enough to eat. The nipple size I have here as the 1 millimeter tube, that's the catheter. No solid food whatsoever. And now we have their schedule every 2 hours. So I have an example schedule. I get up at 6 a.m. and these are the feeding times until 10 p.m. After 10 p.m. there are 3 nightly feedings. So yes, these are real babies. They eat all day and all night because they are growing and growing and growing. That's all they're doing. Their job is to grow as fast as they can. So they are constantly eating. So you will be up all day and all night. You'll be exhausted. It's a real baby. Care and handling. We're going to stimulate the genitals. You're going to use a tiny tissue, like the corner of a tissue, and you're going to tickle the little baby butt, and you'll see a tiny drop of pee form. If they're dehydrated, nothing will come out. And you'll just keep hydrating until you get a little peep. If there's no poop and there's just nothing coming out, you just got them, it's okay. You just want to make sure that they're urinating. Once they start urinating, you can start cutting in formula little by little. And you're going to do, half and then a little more. So you draw up with your syringe. Instead of the full amount with hydration fluid, you'll do half and half and kind of go, shake it up a little bit and then give them that. And then add a little more for the next feeding, a little more until they get up to full fat. Once they're up to full fat and they're eating and doing fine and still peeing and everything, they should start pooping. The first poops might be like little bits of coal if they were very dehydrated. They were stuck in there and they couldn't push it out. But normal baby poop from their mom looks like mustard, so don't be alarmed. If you got kidnapped babies, you got those babies that were on their mom's milk and really should have been left with their mom, but you got them anyway, you'll notice that their poop looks very different from formula baby poop. So don't be alarmed that it's mustard. They don't have an illness. That just means they were still on their mom's milk, and really they were kidnapped, and you shouldn't even have them, but you do. So there's that. You need to wear warm gloves when you touch them. These babies are warm. They need to stay that way. If you have cold hands like I do, don't touch them with your cold hands. Pick them up with a tissue or a thin blanket, or wear the fuzzy gloves, something, but do not touch them with cold hands. You want to keep them on heat at all times. These little tiny pinkies are naked. They cannot keep themselves warm. They need to be in all kinds of blankets wrapped up with, this is an example of it. It's like a USB. It's such a tiny heat pad. It's meant for a pocket, for like a ski jacket. It's perfect size for mice. And then we have the habitat. Quiet and dark. Soft blanket nest. Small terrarium. This is the nest box. 6 to 10 days, they start getting their 5 o'clock shadow. Their ears are still closed, although they can hear you. They are still closed. And look how tiny he is next to this penny. Just a tiny little baby. It's like a little bee. And again, with the body weight, can vary based on if it's a little runt or not. But we go up to a 1 cc daily intake. Look at that intake, just tiny. They really just don't eat much anything. You're going to feed them every 3 hours instead of every 2. So you get a break there. And you have 2 nightly feedings. So you're going to get up at midnight and again at 3 a.m. Again, you're going to stimulate genitals. They cannot pee and poop on their own. This is a part of keeping the nest clean, by the way. They wait for their mom to let them know it's safe to poop. Because they have so many predators. They need to be careful about that. Wear warm gloves, keep them on heat, nice warm environment. They like to stay toasty. Quiet, dark, small terrarium, blankets, all that good stuff. All right, so let's take a look at some videos on non-weaned youngsters. We're going to look at an intake video and feeding videos. Look at these little cuties. Oh, they're just like little huggy babies. These guys I got, they were orphans. See the wrinkles? They're very wrinkly. They were very dehydrated, these little guys.
So I just got these guys. Some little baby mice. You can see next to my fingers. Just little guys. Very wiggly. Oh, you can't see, but very wiggly, very hungry, want a nurse. They're looking. Unfortunately, it's nightfall and it's day 2, so reuniting failed. Really sad because Mom Mouse was right there. She just, they were taken inside into a box unknowingly, not realizing that Mom would have came back for them. But anyway, at this point, I'm just going to take them in. So let's get to feeding. Well, hydrating, but look at them, babies. Okay, so these guys are so small. This is what I use to hold formula. At this age, they're not even really big enough yet to have a full cc by themselves. So this is really their formula for a couple of days. They're already hydrated. This is actually still diluted. It's not full fat just yet. And then I have some torn up tissues for wiping baby butts. Let's get the first one out. And they're in this little pouch. So if you can see in there. It's nice and warm. Everybody's in there napping, and it's time to eat, baby. So I always use a cloth or a tissue to actually hold them, because you can see just how little they are. It's hard to get a grip on them with just your skin against theirs. And let's see if I can turn this baby around so you can see my target is that little mouth right there. I already tested this on my wrist, so it's not too hot. I'm just gonna put a little on the lips. And yum, yum, yum. Oh, I don't think you can see. Just keep. Yes, baby, I know, because you got a taste and then it left. I'm really not even pushing. The babies are able through this tube to actually suckle some of it out. So when I do push, it's just to make up for the air loss inside. But I'm letting them take in what they want. They're so small, it's really easy to aspirate them. You are starving, love. They are being fed every 2 hours, so I've been up all night with them. Just fed all my bunnies, and now it's their turn. Mousy feeding time. Now, because they are technically pinkies, even though they have started to get their 5 o'clock shadow, they're really not furred just yet. So they still have naked bellies. So you can actually see the milk line if they have eaten enough. And this one's not ready to let go, so I'm gonna wait to check the belly. Really hope my camera is focusing on this tiny mouth. Now this end piece, of course, it's a 1 cc syringe, O-ring, and then I have the attachment end of a rubber catheter, and then on the end of that, the actual tip is food grade silicone tubing. I can't remember, I think it's a 1 millimeter to finish off the end, because I do need a clear end piece when I first get them, so I can see, you know, bubbles or see movement of fluids when I first get them, just because they get used to having this in their mouth and they're really unsure. So I need to be able to see the flow, but at this point they've had multiple feedings by now. So they're pretty used to it, and you can see this one's latched on. So I really don't, I would like to see the clear part, but the fact that she's pretty much swallowed up the whole viewpoint for me, it's fine because she's nursing on her own. Was that enough? Let me check the belly. They're a little bit ashy. I've been doing a mama spit shine on them. They're not old enough to really scrub up on their own, so lotion would be okay. But here's the milk line. See it? The little white, looks like a white belt. So this baby is actually full. Wiggly because they're healthy. So I just need to see the baby butt so I can just tickle. And is this my boy? It is. Hi. I just gotta tickle, tickle, tickle the baby butt. Once they start to go, they'll actually stop. Okay, baby. Yeah. They can't actually potty on their own. I mean, of course, if they're bursting at the seams, they could, but they do wait to be stimulated to go. And there's some beep. Nice potty. Okay. Okay, it's my baby boy. Moving on to the next kid.
So next up we have the 14 days, 11 to 14. They start teething. They're cutting teeth and opening eyes. It's the most rewarding part of rehabilitation with babies when they open their eyes and it's just the world opens up and they see you for the first time and they love you still, even though you don't look anything like them. So body weight goes up. We have the syringe size staying the same, daily intake, they're taking in more. This is daily, by the way, not each feeding, because the each feeding is such a tiny amount. I really go by daily intake. This is going to help you really with your inventory and knowing how much formula you need to have made ahead of time. That is something you need to do, by the way. You need to have your formula ready. It can be frozen and kept in the freezer. And like I show in the videos, you can see what I use for mice because there's such small quantities. But this is daily intake that you see here, not each feeding intake, because that can vary. Right? Some babies are little piglets and they eat more. You just want to make sure they're not eating too much less. Okay? If they want to be piggies, they can be piggies. It will just make them grow faster. So the same catheter tube at this age. They might be interested, and because they're cutting teeth, their gums hurt just like human babies, and so they will feel the need to chew on something and help cut their teeth through the gums. So I always offer them Cheerios because it seems very safe. It's lightweight. Because they're so little and wobbly, they're going to try to hold the food with their hands while they chew on it. And so it's a great food for them to use. You could get the baby puff star things, but they're expensive. You can get Cheerios, and most people have Cheerios around. So it's your call which one you want to do. They are not weaning, though. Okay? They are still completely dependent on formula or their mother's milk, whichever one they're on. But right now, they are completely dependent on formula. They need that. They're just cutting teeth. They are not going to be eating Cheerios as a part of their diet. The Cheerios are just there to help them, you know, soothe their little sore gums and cut their teeth. They're not really going to be ingesting it. It's not a food. So you're going to feed these guys every 4 hours. And once their eyes are open, you don't have to do nightly feedings anymore. It's so great. It's like as soon as their eyes open, you're like, oh, the wonders of life. But in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, I get to sleep. Never thought I'd see the day. You get to sleep all night because your babies are sleeping all night. So they're at the 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. And after 10, you are free to sleep all the way through until 6 a.m. Yay for you. You're going to stimulate genitals and you're going to check for poops. So you always want to check for poops because at this stage, they might be pooping on their own. So you do want to check. So if you stimulate and there's no poops, you want to check in their little pocket or in their blanket, wherever they're sleeping, and see if you see any. And if you do, then there you go. That's where it went, right? You're not going to worry that they're not pooping. They are. It's just not with you. They're doing it on their own, like big kids. You're going to wear warm gloves when you're touching them or have a warm hand. You're going to keep them on heat. We're talking 70 degrees because, see, they got a little fuzz. They got a little protection. Their habitat has changed, though. Once their eyes open, okay, this is the eyes opening stage. So if this baby is 14 days and his eyes are still closed, do not put them in a habitat, okay? Eyes closed babies stay in that tiny nest box. Remember, they're still, quote unquote, underground in their little nest, okay? They're not going to be emerging because their eyes are closed. They're just sleeping and eating and pooping and peeing. That's all they're doing. Once their eyes open, they're going to start exploring. They're going to want to see things and sniff around, and that brain activity is going to go up. So we still need quiet, but we can go with natural light. They don't have to be in the dark. Natural light like a window, but not direct light, because we don't want to hurt them with direct sunlight, right? So just natural light in a room. They still have a little soft blanket for a nest, but they get a habitat. They get some dirt for digging. And you don't have to use dirt from outside, especially if you have ants in your area or there's a worry about certain funguses. I get the play sand from the hardware store for sandboxes. So you can get a little Tupperware container, scoop up some sand, put that in, and surround it with the grass and bedding, and there you go. You got a little dig box. They need leaves and grass because even though they're not herbivores, they do like to chew on, take little nibbles of things, and they want to nibble the grass and nibble the leaves. So they do like to sample things. It's just a part of their enrichment. I have a 30-gallon bin with the 1/4-inch mesh wire lid. This is the minimum that they need. If you have a full litter of 6 babies, you really should get a bigger bin. But at this stage, with just a couple of babies, they're fine in here. But as they get bigger, more active, you might want to size up. They're going to get a water dish with a glass stone. So you can go to the dollar store and get the little glass beads. I'm calling it a glass stone because it looks like a river stone. It's flat. And I just use a baby food jar lid because it's got a rounded lid and it's pretty safe. There's really no sharp edges or anything on it. And I just put the little glass bead in the middle. And that's mainly so that if the babies stumble into the body of water, they have a little island there to kind of keep them out of it. If they want to deliberately drink, they can. But there's no accidental drowning with that. All right, so let's watch a grooming video and a video on containment, and then we'll come back.
Good job. You wash your little hands. Here you go. She's like the tiniest little tongue. I was really just getting a picture of your round belly, but since you're going to clean yourself, might as well record. Tiny little nails. Are you done? Yeah, everybody's cleaning now because everybody ate. So it's deceiving on the age with these guys without actually getting a weight, but I will try with my hand to show you. No, baby, no. Just how small they are. This is the bigger one. But here is the littlest. Hi. They are so delicately small. You really don't want to squeeze them. You just want to cradle. They crawl a lot, but they're really good at gripping. Piglet, look at you. Yes, I know, which is why you need a lid. Even these tiny babies, they will get away from you. So, let's get you guys into a habitat so you can explore.